And it's a beautiful week, one that is ending the month of March 2025. Good afternoon. As always, a pleasure to have you here on The Pulse. My name is Elton Brobe, and I'm trusting that you had a wonderful week, and I did so. And for that reason, we are back expecting a productive and exciting week. We are live on DSTV channel 421, Go TV's 125, all our social media platforms. We are on X Spaces, on Facebook, on YouTube, and of course, on myjoyonline.com. My name is Elton Brobe. This afternoon, money laundering, embezzlement, spy equipment, that's all the state case against former Director General of the National Signals Bureau as laid out by the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine. We have details of the state's accusations against the erstwhile Akufo-Addo government appointees who he said to have misapplied more than 39 million Ghana cedis privately. And of course, more from today's news conference addressed by the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, where he also reveals 8 suspects have been interrogated and a good number of them have started singing in connection to the National Service Scheme Ghost Name scandal. Also coming up this afternoon, traders affected by the Adum fire protest against the discongestion exercise intended to create a pathway for emergencies, fearing they might lose their trading spaces. And of course, we are live at Adum for more details as the over 6,000 traders affected by the fire demands the release of the PZ land to ply their trade. And later, as government advances its strategy to achieve a revenue target of 223 billion cedis in 2025, we take a closer look at the oil sector's potential and explore additional measures that could further boost revenue generation. My name is Elton Brobe. Thanks for joining us here on The Pulse. Get interactive with us on all our social media handles, on X Spaces, Facebook, YouTube, and of course, myjoyonline.com. When we settle down, we zoom straight into the AG's case against Kwabena, Adu-Boahene, and others. Of course, we are heavy this afternoon on the Attorney General's news conference that highlighted accusations of wrongdoing against certain individuals that played key roles in the Akufo-Addo-led administration. Of course, he's also been responding to the raid, if you like, that took place at the home of the former governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Addison, and why he is of the view that what they did was constitutional and they did not violate any law. We'll bring you that justification. Also hear from a former Attorney General who served in the Akufo-Addo administration. But for now, though, let me start from the court, because lawyers for one of the accused persons in the ongoing trial of former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Abnadapa, domestic workers, have suggested that the jewelry she reported stolen belonged to the wife of Otumfuo Osei the first and was returned to the Menchia Palace following pressure from the people of Pankro. Now, testifying in court on March 12, Madam Dapa stated that her personal jewelry, including diamond and gold pieces, were among the valuables stolen from a storage room at her Belimpe residence in 2023. However, in court today, Augustine Jemfi, lawyer for the second accused, Sarah J., suggested that the jewelry had been held by her late brother, whom she had admitted in court was a sub-chief member of her legal affairs desk, Latif Idrisu, was in court, and this is his report.
So the Menchia Palace came into the picture when Madam Cecilia Dapa, who had initially denied any linkage to the Otumfuo Osei, then admitted to court that, yes, indeed, her deceased brother was the Adu-Boahene. To put it in proper context, if you recall, when she mounted the witness box for the first time, Madam Cecilia Dapa told the court that part of her valuables that have been stolen included some jewelry she had held for over 30 years. And that is the linkage the lawyer is trying to connect here. And Adu-Boahene, within the setup of the Ashanti Kingdom chieftaincy, is the one who takes custody of the properties of the wife of the Ashanti king. So according to the lawyer of the second accused person, the deceased brother of Madam Cecilia Dapa, that is the Adu-Boahene, was the one who took custody of the jewelry of Otumfo Osei Tutu the first. His wife, the deceased brother of Madam Cecilia Dapaah, took custody of his property, including her jewelry. He held on to the jewelry from generation to generation to generation, and then it's now been handed over to Madam Cecilia Dapaah. According to the lawyer of the second accused person, there's been pressure from the people of Pankrono, who mounted pressure on the former minister to return the jewelry to the Menchia Palace, but she was adamant. Now, following her complaint at the police station about the stolen jewelry, according to the lawyer, the pressure from the people of Pankrono increased, and so Madam Cecilia Dapaah had since returned those jewelry to the Menchia Palace, and so she cannot come back to court and claim that same jewelry that had been returned to the Menchia Palace are still missing. Madam Cecilia Dapaah forcefully rejected those suggestions by the lawyer for the second accused person. She told the court that, quote and unquote, this is new, this has never happened, this is news to me, this is history to me, to suggest that there's never been an instance where she had returned jewelry to the Menchia Palace. And so what the lawyer was suggesting to her was untrue. Now listen to what Madam Cecilia Dapaah said when I approached her for further comments on that particular questioning or the suggestion by lawyer for the second accused person in this ongoing trial.
I want to get a word or two from you about the claim by counsel for A2 that you had returned there.
I answered.
That was in the court. I was wondering if you would just give us a few words on. Okay.
Madam Cecilia Dapaah maintained that indeed she had never returned any jewelry to the Menchia Palace. The case has since been adjourned and will be recalled on April 15th here at the High Court. Latif Idris, Joy News, the High Court Complex.
All right, let me now take you to the office of the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine. And this laid out the state's case against former Director General of the National Signals Bureau, Kwabena Adu-Boahene, who was arrested last Thursday at the Kotoka International Airport. Dr. Dominic Ayine revealed that the Financial Intelligence Center is actively tracking bank accounts linked to Mr. Adu-Boahene and his wife as part of ongoing investigations into alleged financial crimes related to the purchase of a cybersecurity equipment from an Israeli firm. We'll get into the details shortly. First, though, listen to the AG review the mechanism deployed by the former national security operative to evade arrest.
February 25th, 2025, around 11:30, 23:20 hours, EOCO received intelligence that suspect Kwabena Adu-Boahene left the country for the United Kingdom via British Airways flight BA-078 to London. Days after that, EOCO received further intelligence that the suspect had flown from the United Kingdom to Dubai and had purchased an Emirates airline ticket, which suggested that he was expected to arrive in Ghana on Friday, March 21st, 2025 at 12 noon via Emirates flight number EK-187. On Thursday, March 20th, 2025, EOCO received intelligence again, additional intelligence, that the suspect had cancelled his flight and rescheduled his arrival to Ghana from Dubai to April 18, 2020. That's April 8, not 18, April 8, 2020. Now, I want this chronology to sink in because of a point that I will be making later on about why we are detaining him. On March 20th, around 3 p.m., EOCO's operational team, led by the acting Deputy Executive Director in charge of operations, assessed its operational plan to include the possibility that the suspect could have traveled back to London to fly to Ghana in an attempt to evade surveillance. EOCO assessed with high confidence that the changes made by the suspect in terms of arrival date in Ghana may have been calculated step to mislead investigators and throw them off any possible surveillance. EOCO further asserts that the time of the cancellation of the Emirates flight coincided with the time the British Airways was expected to fly from Heathrow to Ghana. The decision was taken to place the suspect on a stop order and make emergency operational adjustments and brace for his unexpected arrival and arrest of the suspect on either British Airways or KLM, which was expected to arrive in Accra. An hour to the arrival of the British Airways flight 078 in Accra, EOCO received intelligence that a name similar to that of suspect Dominic Ayine had changed from K. Adu-Boahene to O. Adu-Boahene in the manifest, may be on the British Airways flight. The suspect has slightly altered his name on all, the name that is reflected on all his passports. Around 9 p.m. on March 21st, the suspect was stopped by Ghana Immigration Service as he attempted to use the commercially important person CIP terminal at the Kotoka International Airport. Now, he had changed his class from business class to economy, okay, and decided to evade arrest through the CIP terminal.
Right, so a lot to unpack on this developing story because the man in question is now being held and the AG intends to go back to court, free him, rearrest him, and then demand that he's held in custody for as long as their investigation will take. But let's break it down for you this afternoon as we also seek to explore whether the AG is right in virtually condemning the man guilty even before he's taken to court to prove his case. Now, member of our legal affairs desk and also parliamentary correspondent Kwaku Asante sat through the news conference this morning, running into the afternoon, joins me with one. So Kwaku, give us details of what this transaction was about and what exactly Mr. Adu-Boahene is alleged to have done that, you know, he's been portrayed in this light.
So, Elton, this has to do with the Bureau of National Communication, formerly known as the Signals Bureau's attempt to purchase some spy software from an Israeli company. It is alleged that Mr. Adu-Boahene and his wife registered a company also called BNC, a private BNC, which is literally named the same way as the Bureau of National Communication, right, in a way. And this software was expected to be procured from that Israeli company. The funds for this software were transferred from the state to this private account, allegedly, as has been accounted by the Attorney General and Minister for Justice. And that, in fact, a total of 49 million Ghana cedis were transferred from the State Bureau of National Communication to this private BNC's account. And just a little over 10 million allegedly were utilized for the purchase of this software. It is alleged that the other 39 million have been misapplied by the Mr. Adu-Boahene, who served as the BNC boss at the time. Listen to the Attorney General lay out the specifics of the evidence they say they have against Mr. Adu-Boahene.
As the director of BNC, Mr. Adu-Boahene was a co-signatory to the BNC's director's account at Fidelity Bank. While serving as director of BNC, however, he and his wife, Ms. Angela Adu-Boahene, registered a company on October 23, 2018, which they named, and listen carefully, BNC Communications Bureau Limited. It is important to note that the similarity between the names here, that is BNC, was designed, to engage in a criminal enterprise, which will unfold as I go further. For purposes of differentiation, we will call the private company private BNC and call Ghana Signal and National Security BNC the National BNC. Mr. Adu-Boahene, who is the head or who was the head of the BNC, and his wife are listed as directors of the private BNC. Okay, so they registered the company, and they, the two of them, together are the directors of the company, the two directors of the company. On October 26, 2018, the couple opened a corporate account for their private BNC at Universal Merchant Bank, UNB. According to the mandate on the account, either of the directors could sign checks and approve transactions on the account. In his capacity as director of the National BNC, Mr. Adu-Boahene on January 30th, 2020, signed a contract on behalf of the government of Ghana and the National Security Council on the one hand, and on the other hand, an Israeli company called ISC Holdings Limited. The contract was for the purchase of a cyber defense system software at a price of $7 million United States of American dollars. Let us call this contract the GOD ISC contract. On February 6, 2020, Mr. Adu-Boahene then transferred an initial amount of 27,100,000 Ghana cedis, that is from the National BNC's operations account at Fidelity Bank to the private BNC account at UNB. Official documentation on the transfer revealed that the amount was for the payment of cyber defense system software, which the National BNC was buying from ISC Holdings in Israel. Mr. Adu-Boahene, in effect, transferred the money from the National BNC to his private company, the private BNC. A review of the transactions on the bank accounts reveals that once the funds from the National BNC landed in the account of his private BNC at UNB Bank, Mr. Adu-Boahene caused his private BNC to transfer an amount of 9,537,520 Ghana cedis to ISC Holdings in Israel. By the exchange rate at the time, this amount was the Ghana cedi equivalent of 1,750,000 United States of American dollars. To justify or facilitate the transfer of the 9.5 million and the 9.5 million, Mr. Adu-Boahene fraudulently attached a copy of the Government of Ghana ISC contract as well as an invoice, which he held out as an invoice issued by ISC Holdings Limited or in respect of the Government of Ghana ISC contract. On March 18, 2020 and March 30, 2020 respectively, he again transferred 21 million Ghana cedis from the National BNC Director's account at Fidelity Bank to the same private BNC account at UNB. The narration of the transaction indicated that it was for the payment of the cyber defense systems that the National BNC was buying. The transfer from the National BNC's account brought the total transfers that he made to his private BNC to 49 million Ghana cedis. By the exchange rate at the time, this amount was exactly the Ghana cedi equivalent of 7 million United States of American dollars. The exact full amount which he quoted as the price at which ISC Holdings sold the cyber defense equipment to the government of Ghana.
Right, Kwaku, so a lot to unpack here. Now, this same person, Dominic Ayine, according to the Attorney General, is also being accused to have embezzled more than 39 million cedis of state funds. And they've given breakdown as to what the money was used for, including the purchase of 27 houses in a single estate.
You will see from the account that the Attorney General is giving that a total amount of 49 million Ghana cedis was transferred from the Bureau of National Communication, that is the State National Security account,
right,
to a private company named as alike BNC Communications Limited, that is owned by the former BNC boss together with his wife. And only 10 million were actually used to purchase the spy software that they intended to purchase. The other 39 million were allegedly being misapplied by Mr. Adu-Boahene and the wife Angie Adu-Boahene, who are currently in custody. And like you said, they have purchased properties including 27 houses, all valued at 295,000 Ghana cedis, another property 270,000, and a list of others. The Attorney General considers this embezzlement.
All the payments transferred to the invoice, a number from IC Holdings, all the payments reference the invoice number from ISC Holdings to the National BNC. Importantly, after the initial transfer of the 9.5 million Ghana cedis, which was the equivalent of 1.750 United States of American dollars from the private BNC to ISC Holdings, no further payments were made to ISC Holdings. A review of the transactions on the private BNC account reveals that after the payment of the 1,750,000, Mr. Adu-Boahene and his wife began applying the rest of the funds for their personal use, making transfers to local third parties, personal investment, as well as transfers to unknown persons. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen of the media, we have all the account details, we have all the receipts, and any person who took money from Mr. Adu-Boahene from that account, we know. Now, our investigation, which was conducted by EOCO, as I've indicated, has established that the ultimate beneficial, in essence, the difference between 49 million Ghana cedis being the money Mr. Adu-Boahene transferred from the bank account of the National BNC to his private BNC, and 9.5 million being the money he actually paid to the ISC Holdings for the software, ended up with him and his wife. That is to say that the sum of 39,462,480 Ghana cedis of taxpayers' money went into their private pocket. The investigation has revealed that the ultimate beneficial owner of BNC Communications Limited is another company known as Advantage Solutions Limited. 10 other companies are through a very complex web of shareholding and directorship connected to Mr. Adu-Boahene and his wife, Angela. Investigations have also established that monies, mostly proceeds of crime from the Advantage Solutions Limited and BNC Communications Bureau Limited and other similar sources have been transmitted under very suspicious circumstances through the bank accounts of these companies. The investigations have revealed so far that the suspect and his wife have registered companies which we are currently tracking. We are tracking all the companies. There are about 10 of them that they created with Advantage Solutions mostly owning all the companies. For purposes of the investigation that is ongoing, we are not going to disclose those companies, but I want to warn any executive, director, or employee of each of the companies who, knowing that Mr. Adu-Boahene has been arrested, if they make movement of assets, we will track and arrest them and prosecute them. So they are all warned. All banks are also warned that if we see any wire transfers or cash withdrawals on any of the accounts belonging to Mr. Adu-Boahene and his companies, the bank managers and all their employees who are involved in those transfers will equally be arrested. After this press conference, no activity, and we are monitoring all their bank accounts from the Financial Intelligence Center. With the press of a button, we can see the movement of money, on any of the accounts. So we are monitoring that very, very closely.
Well, I'll come back to you, but let me bring you that sound bite of the Attorney General, where he spoke about what the money was used for, including the purchase of some landed properties in Ghana.
The investigations also established that the proceeds from the suspect's activities were used to buy significant landed properties and other assets of considerable value both in Ghana and elsewhere. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the press, my fellow countrymen and women, I want to give you a sample of what we have discovered so far. We have tracked most of the assets. So, the properties the properties that are in their names, their joint names, or sometimes in their, in their individual names, are as follows. We have number 2 Stream Park Drive, Mayfair Estates, LA, that is Accra. For that, they deposited, and we have the deposit slip as well as the receipt from the estate developer, $1 million United States of American dollars. Number 6, Edith Avenue, Mayfair Estates, Accra. Deposit 500,000 United States of America. That's American dollars. That's the initial deposit. All right. Then we have number 7, Edith Avenue, Mayfair, 200,000 United States of American dollars deposited for the property. Number 8, Edith Avenue, Mayfair Estates, Accra, 97,815 United States of American dollars was deposited for that property. But we are sure that other cash payments were made to complete the purchase and then the transfer of ownership. So we are tracing all those documents. Number 9, Edith Avenue, Mayfair Estate, 270,000 United States of American dollars deposited, initial deposit for the purchase. Number 10, Edith Avenue, Mayfair Estates, Accra, 150,000 United States of American dollars deposited. Now he also owns a company known as Vertex Properties. Vertex Properties, and we trace the proceeds of crime to Vertex Properties also. They have Vertex Properties owns 27 houses located at Oyarifa. Each house costs, an estimated cost of 295 United States of American dollars. We also know that they have 2 properties in London that they are tracking, and I'm going to trigger the mutual legal assistance between the United Kingdom and Ghana for us to be able to lay hands on those properties. Now we also know we've been following the bank transactions very closely, and we know that on February 11, 2020, they made a 16 million fixed deposit from the payment received from BNC Security. This was from the initial payment of 27,100,000 Ghana cedis.
Rasokoku, I'm interested in the other persons that the AG is pursuing, because we got a hint that the AG may use some of them as prosecution witness. Did the names come up?
Well, yes, Elton, as we speak, there are in fact 3 persons in custody. Mr. Adu-Boahene himself, his wife, and one other person that the Attorney General says he does not wish to mention the name because there are so many persons who are suspected to be involved in this alleged crime who are out there. And the AG says he is keeping his door open to using some of those persons as prosecution's witnesses, for which reason he's not willing to put their name out at the moment, because he insists and he expects that some of these persons, both that one person who's currently in custody and the other persons who are out there, may be used as prosecution witnesses against Mr. Adu-Boahene when finally charges are pressed against him early in April.
Mr. Adu-Boahene alone withdrew 7,250,000 Ghana cedis, okay, in cash. He withdrew that in cash. This payment came out of the second transfer of the 21 million from BNC National Security to BNC, his private company. On April 24th, 2020, 1.5 million cash withdrawal was made. On the same day, he made payments to a real estate company to the tune of 1,566,000. So you see the coincidence, okay, of the transactions that were taking place. Then February to September, out of the 49 million, which was transferred from BNC National Security to his private BNC, about 99% was withdrawn by him personally, and they were largely very large cash withdrawals. And we believe that those were the withdrawals that were made for him to make the deposit for the properties that I enumerated above. Now we are still tracking suspect Adu-Boahene and his assets, and then of course his wife, but will conclude in the next few days and file charges against him and the other suspects. So they are currently in detention. We have given them bail conditions from EOCO, he and his wife and the other suspect. Now the reason I'm not mentioning the other suspects is that for purposes of our strategy, and if they are listening to me, you know, they should take this very seriously, the other suspects. For purposes of our investigation and prosecution, okay, we may have to use some of them as prosecution witnesses. If they give us the offer, fine. If they don't want to cooperate with this evidence, I don't see how they and the suspect will get out of, being convicted. But of course, they will have to be, their guilt will have to be proven beyond reasonable doubt. So I'm not being presumptuous, but we have all the evidence from what you can see from the enumeration that we have all the evidence, including receipts of payments and withdrawals, slips and so on. So this is for suspect Adu-Boahene and his wife.
Yes, well, so before I let you go, just briefly on the raid, if you like, that took place at the home of the former governor of the Bank of Ghana. The AG, brought some clarity on the matter. Can you update us on that?
Well, yes, he says the warrant that was actually executed and searched the premises of the former Bank of Ghana governor was actually on his direction and under his hand. No unlawful conduct has been brought to his attention by the national security operatives, and that, in fact, they have some part of the search on tape and on video, and that Dr. Ernest Addison, the former BOG governor, did indeed say certain things to their record. And so he's throwing out their warning to Alexander Afenyo Market and others who are spewing, in his own words, falsehood to malign him and national security operatives to desist, because as far as they are concerned, nothing unlawful was done when the home of Dr. Ernest Addison was searched.
All right. Thank you very much, Kwakwa Asante. He's a parliamentary correspondent. He sat through that news conference this morning. Remember that at this same news conference, the Attorney General Minister for Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayine, also updated the country on investigations into what has become known as the National Service Scheme scandal, where some people already have been arrested, granted bail, and assisted in ongoing investigation. Listen to what he told the media this morning relating to that matter.
But I can confirm that investigations will conclude in the National Service and Sky Train scandals by the middle of April for prosecutions to begin. In the National Service scandal, 8 suspects have been interrogated, and a good number of them have started singing. They are cooperating with our they started singing literally. Yeah. So we will give you details of their songs at the appropriate time. In view of the fact that, so indeed, we now have evidence of payments that were made into the accounts of the top executives of the National Service by vendors, private vendors, and staff of the scheme. We also have evidence that in November 2024, and listen to this carefully, the CEO of the National Service Scheme and others paid a Ghanaian MP to kill the story in the media and to defend them. Now this is a developing story, and more will come out very soon.
Well, it will be interesting to know the identity of this MP in question who attempted to kill this so-called NSS scandal in the media. But we'll wait to hear more from the Attorney General in the coming days. Now, moment before the Attorney General's address, the minority in a news conference in Parliament accused the Attorney General of abusing his office by ordering searches, arrests, and conducting investigations into former government appointees. Here is Deputy Whip Jerry Ahmed Shaibu.
Attorney General is an officer of the court. His interest is to assist the court in dispensing justice when investigators bring their case and evidence. The poster of the new AG undermines this rule. He is no longer acting as an officer of the court, but is instead acting as someone who has conducted his own inquisition, determined guilt of a suspect, and is seeking to force his view or his views on the courts. The practice undermines the role of the Attorney General and undermines the administration of justice. All well-meaning voices that respect the operation of the rule of law should call on it to an end, and to end it now as we speak. We are asking that all well-meaning voices that respect the operation of the rule of law should call on the Attorney General to put an end to this immediately. The Attorney General is not expected to start off by prejudicing an investigation and in his mind conducting an inquisition on suspects. Since when did we have an Attorney General who himself orders arrest, conducts investigations, and examines his own evidence to determine if a prima facie case is being documented or docketed against a suspect? This is highly improper and leads to bias right from the investigation process. Let the court decide the guilt or innocence of suspects. The new approach where the Attorney General seeks to convict political opponents in the court of public opinion before going to the court of competent jurisdiction is an abomination that should not be countenanced. Photographs circulating on social media clearly shows signs of destruction and ransacking, hardly the marks of a lawful and respectful operation. If indeed a court-issued warrant truly existed, why was it not presented to Dr. Addison before or during the raid? Why was brute force used to overpower his private security? Why was the CCTV camera dismantled and taken away? Transparency is a hallmark that ensures lawful enforcement. The failure to follow basic procedure casts doubt on the legality and intent of the operation. No amount of legal contortion or public relations spin can undo the facts. Dr. Addison's home was raided under highly questionable circumstances. If the actions were truly lawful and above board, why did the National Security Coordinator find it necessary to call and apologize to Dr. Addison via the phone of Mr. Richard Jakpa? If there was no wrongdoing with the conduct of the security officers, what exactly was the apology for?
That's the Deputy Whip on the minority side, Jerry Ahmed. And this news conference took place before the AG also addressed the nation on ongoing investigation into some cases. Now let me bring in a former Deputy Attorney General, Alfred Tuanyewa, who joins us on the line. Mr. Tuanyewa, good afternoon. Welcome to the Pulse.
Yeah, good afternoon, my brother.
So let me first pick your initial, assessment, or better still, reaction to all that the AG said this morning. Some say that even updating the nation on ongoing cases and investigation in itself brings about transparency in the way they are going about their work. First, your reaction to what that happened this morning from the AG's office.
All right, thank you very much. Now, today I'm listening to the learned AG of the Republic. He may want to use a style by updating the public, but such a style must be looked at a bit carefully, especially when it deals with the rights of people who the law presumes to be innocent until proven guilty or they've admitted their guilt. And so what I see as happening today is an attempt by the Attorney General to brief the public. So I hope and pray that this matter is not heard through this kind of medium, that namely through media, even a media trial. I suspect that maybe the AG may want to also caught the attention of the public with respect to what they have done. But will that lead to a fair trial when the accused person is placed before a law court? So these are my initial comments. I thought that when it comes to the rights of accused persons, if you even have hardcore evidence, must present your evidence to a court of law for it to be tested, for conclusion to be drawn and the decision given by the court.
Right. That is why I also have a bit of a difficulty. Perhaps you can help educate us because you are a lawyer and you've served in that office before. Now, listening to the Attorney General this morning, Dr. Dominic Ayine, he comes to the firm conclusion that Mr. Adu-Boahene is guilty, virtually, pronouncing that on him during that news conference. Is it standard practice? Because the case is yet to get to court. The court is yet to pronounce. I mean, we've even yet to hear from the side of the person who's been arrested. But emphatically, the AG concludes that the man engaged in a criminal enterprise, and he goes on to point what he used the money for, when we've not heard from the other side.
I agree with you with the question that you just posed. It is not normal for you to pronounce the guilt of an accused person when the law says that he should be presumed innocent until proven guilty or has pleaded guilty to the specific count. And so I have not encountered such a situation where since 1993 that we started this democratic regime, where you have the Attorney General or a rep Attorney General addressing the media and drawing conclusions that he came up with today. So it's something new, as you also observed. It's also something new that you all have to be worried about.
So in an environment where the case is yet to get to court, to what extent does it put pressure on the judges that may sit on this case, knowing whether the AG, and rightly so, appears to have taken a firm position that he expects this kind of outcome?
Yes, exactly. It's one of the things that I'm worried about. I recall that the question was posed to the learned Attorney General on the issue of bail, and he tried to justify or answer that question by indicating that from the evidence that they have and the conduct of the accused person and what the public know right now, the accused person is someone when granted bail may even abscond. So he's in a way taking the power of a court to grant bail from a specific court. So if this matter is played before a court and a judge, after looking at the evidence, decides to grant bail, then there's an attempt on the part of the AG to pitch the court against the public or the public against the court. And so the public can go, the judge was wrong because the AG said he has to be remanded because it's likely that you abscond. If the AG has any reservations as to whether a person should be granted bail or not, that reservation or those arguments you have to put up when the case is brought to the court. And the grant of bail is at the discretion of a judge, but not the prosecutor. And so that power that the AG today sought to arrogate himself, something that I think I disagree with him respectfully. All
right. So, I mean, from a legal point of view, what do you expect Mr. Adu-Boahene and his lawyers to do now that they've been put in the public light as, somebody guilty of an offense that he's yet to respond?
Yes, I think lawyers for Mr. Adu-Boahene, they may have the tapes and they may want to take certain decisions on it. I may not be able to offer a specific opinion to them on it. But my advice is that moving forward, the AG will have to review such cases. If you recall, during our time, we never held a press conference to give out the evidence that we have in any specific matter. With respect to all those high-profile cases that we had, there wasn't a single moment that we came out to give the evidence before going to court. We went to court, level charges, came out with the facts, filed our witness statements. At least if those things are filed, they probably get to know. But we never chose that medium to address the media before putting our case before a law court.
This Mr. Adu-Boahene matter, I mean, the sequence of events points to matters that took place between 2020, 2021, up until the time he exited office. Did any of this come to your attention?
Not at all. Not at all. I am not holding brief for Mr. Adu-Boahene. But I don't see whereby you also condemn him. Because what the AG has done is to put the side of the story, because you have this kind of theory of the Attorney General, the theory of an accused person. until you listen to both sides, you're unable to draw conclusions. But between the period that you have stipulated, nothing of that came to my attention as a deputy AG or to the office.
But if indeed, for now, we can live with the AG's position that Mr. Adu-Boahene, while serving as Director General of the National Signals Bureau, set up a company that virtually was doing the same thing that the taxpayer was paying him to do. Doesn't that amount to conflicts if indeed this is what it is?
So I do not want to run on assumption. I have not heard the side of Mr. Adu-Boahene. And because I don't have that information, it is difficult for me to draw conclusions. I mean, it's all usually said in Akan language that the fire will let you know whether a certain piece of cassava is good or bad. Literally, if you have any piece of evidence and you test it in court and it's accepted by the court, that's what you can say, yes, this is proper evidence. For all what you've heard today, I mean, they are mere facts, mere allegations. They become evidence when they are tendered in court and then tested in the court examination. The court will then make a conclusion of it. So I don't want to pass any judgment for now.
And then the other matter, secondly, is it also right for the AG to say that a person of interest in a matter of the Sky Train is currently in Senegal and may have absconded, even though he also makes the point that the person has given an indication that he will be in the country within a certain period of time? The assumption being created is that he's in a country which has no extradition treaty with Ghana, meaning the possibility that he is hiding or evading justice stands. Is it right for him to come to such a conclusion?
I also disagree with you respectfully. I mean, if the person has indicated to you that he's in a specific jurisdiction or in another country, but he'll be coming, you wait until he tells you that he's no more coming. And if he does not come, then you may want to activate other international instruments or other laws to get him back to Ghana. And so, if the age, that portion, unfortunately, I didn't hear that portion because I was engaged in something else. But if that individual has indicated to you that he'll be back to face justice, then how can you be saying that he's trying to evade justice?
The performance of the Attorney General's department in the last 8 years was also in focus. Now, he concludes by saying that the AG office went to court on several occasions without even supporting any supporting evidence to get the conviction that the AG wanted. And even makes the point that the entire country was turned into a crime scene in the last 8 years, virtually questioning the competence of the office you once held as Deputy AG in the last 8 years, that you rushed to court when you didn't even have supporting evidence. Sometimes you have to even rely on those who are prosecuting to help you win your cases.
That is quite unfortunate. Such a statement coming from the Learned AG is quite unfortunate. I mean, as a senior member at the bar, for that matter, as the official leader of the bar, the AG is aware of the fact that those cases that he entered MP, those cases that he filed notice of withdrawal, we had closed our cases apart from, I think, one of them, and the court had made a determination that these persons had a case to answer. So what is he saying? If you go to court as a prosecutor, you have to mount your prosecution, close your case for the court to make a determination whether you have made a case. And when the court makes a determination that you have made a prima facie case for an accused person to answer, if an accused person decides not to open his defense, a court can go ahead, convict him, and sentence him. And so I disagree with him. We did painstaking prosecution. We rely on investigations properly conducted by state institutions who were not going to the media. We will not, definitely, at the time that we were in office, will not get someone arrested before we get evidence to take the person to court. I mean, if you say so, if you can mention one case where we went to court and then we didn't have the evidence. If we didn't have the evidence, how come that the court said those accused persons had a case to answer? I mean, you may reach out to him for him to respond because he entered MP and filed notice of withdrawal in almost all the cases that we spend the taxpayers' money to prosecute in court. And we never rush. Because in terms of criminal prosecution, you do not rush with investigations. You must dot the I's, cross the T's to ensure that you do not infringe on the rights of the accused person, to ensure that when you're prosecuting a case, your evidence is solid and up to scratch and can meet the test of legal scrutiny. That's what we did. And I think posterity will be the best judge. But they are in office for a little 2 months. Let's see what happens.
So therefore, you expect the AG to stop the commentary and go to court if he has evidence to back the claims against those that have been arrested by the state security agencies?
That is the work of the Attorney General. That is why the president has appointed him. That is why the taxpayer is paying him. That is why, at the end of the day, he's accountable to the people of Ghana. If he has evidence, he must go to court and prosecute the case. If he thinks that by going public, he may want to set out the public against the court, with the event that an outcome comes, or there's an outcome that's not favorable to their court, and the public may say, oh, this is what happened. I mean, maybe I'm not trying to think that way, but who knows? But I have not, since 1992 that we started this democratic journey, had any Attorney General addressing the media, giving evidence, and concluding on evidence that he has.
Finally, before I let you go, over the weekend I heard you on Newsfile on this controversial issue of whether the former governor of the central bank home was raided by operatives of the national security. Now, we have just secured a court order signed by Justice Ali Baba Abuturium. This is the Republic versus NS Kwamena Adu-Boahene, an ex-party application. And it's a search and arrest warrant. And some of the fine details include, let me just run through. It is hereby ordered that the unnumbered house of subjects, Mr. Addison, who reside at the airport residential area in Accra, be searched, arrested by the appropriate security agencies for the purpose of finding, also preserving items subject to have been obtained or procured through criminal conduct. It is also ordered that any item of evidential value to the investigation being conducted, if found on or at the above named premises, should be searched, retrieved, and preserved by the agency or agencies to assist in the investigation. It is further ordered that any person or persons found in the premises who may be engaged in any form of illegal activity should also be arrested to assist in investigation. With this order by the court, will you say that the national security agencies acted within law?
If what you are reading is a warrant from the court, and I believe so, then they acted within the law. But the question is, you can have a lawful warrant, but in the execution of that warrant, you may act unlawfully. So even if they had this warrant, which I do not doubt, did they execute the warrant within the remit of the law? If they did, so if they didn't do it, the question may come up.
The AG said that some conversation went on between the national security operatives that went to his home and then the Mr. Addison, and he's daring the minority leader to keep quiet, otherwise he will make it public. Will you suggest that is made public to bring clarity to the matter, especially what happened in the home when the national security operatives entered?
This very meeting for me to bring out, the Attorney General is the senior person. This is not the first time that he has assumed that position. The last time he was there, he was the deputy. It's not been that he created the position of an Attorney General. It is not everything that you may want to say, tell me, and let me bring it to the public. People may want to criticize you. If you are criticized, you take it. But if the person who was searched comes out to say that, indeed, the search was done A, B, C, D, and you think that wasn't the case, he also has the right to respond.
Okay.
But during the minority, all those things are not things that I think we should put our minds on. The question that to answer is, was the warrant executed in accordance with law? If the answer is yes, let's move on. If the answer is no, let's make sure that in And when it comes to the execution, we do it right.
And then finally, on a personal note, you think that government is just after former government officials? We've seen a tall list of people who may be questioned on one issue or the other, including your former boss, Godfrey Adu-Boahene.
You see, if you hold a public office, it is expected that you be called upon to render account. And those of us who are former government appointees were very mindful of this one. But that same process cannot be used to witch hunt people. And so if they have evidence that any former government appointee has done something untoward, they can go ahead, investigate the person in accordance with law. That's so simple. We are not saying that if you have done something untoward, they should be left because they heard the political position. No.
We'll leave it here for... Okay.
But that process must be in accordance with law. And if people have not done anything untoward and you decide to embark on various activities to embarrass them, I mean, such individuals will not sit down. They also fight back legally.
Okay. Afetwa, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. He is a former Deputy Attorney General and Justice Minister during the Akufo-Addo, in fact, in the second half of the Akufo-Addo administration. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll ask why there's so much issues to do in terms of revenue generation and why we are overlooking a very critical sector when we come back. You're welcome back. This is the pulse here on Joy News, of course, with me, Elton Broby. You can follow me on X Spaces at Elton Broby. Now, government is seeking to generate over 223 billion cedis in revenue for the 2025 fiscal year, or 17.2% of GDP, up from 186.5 billion in 2024. The projection is underpinned by non-oil revenue measures, which are expected to yield at least 0.5% of GDP. The 2025 budget also projects a total expenditure commitment for 2025 at 269.1 billion cedis. This is expected to bring in the 2025 appropriation to almost 291 billion cedis, registering a deficit of almost 50 billion cedis. Now, the debate is, however, whether the country is getting enough from the oil sector. To explore this subject, Professor Ex-NSB, Dean of the Faculty of Accountancy and Finance at the University of Professional Studies, joins me via Zoom. Prof, good afternoon and a pleasure to have you here on the program. And if you can kindly unmute for me, Prof.
Yeah, good afternoon, my brother.
Right.
Good afternoon.
Great to have
you. Your listeners.
Great. So, Parliament, the ministers are presenting their estimate to the House for the approval. Now, from the intro, government says looking for 223 billion. Expenditure is around 260, appropriation 290. Already before we start spending, there's already a deficit ahead of us. In terms of the strategies that government has put in place to generate more revenue, do you think this can work, especially where we are locked out of the international market and tax issues are not so friendly in the country?
Yes. Can you take that part again? I think I lost you at a point in time.
Right. So I was asking.
You are giving us an account. Yes.
Right. So the finance minister has made it clear the ways that he's hoping to generate enough revenue to, finance government plans and programs. Already even is in the process of scrapping some taxes. And I'm asking whether these strategies are what we need, especially in 2025, where we are locked out of the international market and revenue generation appears not to be a very sexy subject in Ghana. Are these strategies that can work?
Yes, I think as a country over the years, we have never operated with a surplus budget before. If I remember, I can recall. I don't remember the year that Ghana, it's been so many years. Our expenditures far exceed our revenue. So we often have a deficit budget all the time. And sometimes it's difficult raising revenue. Just as you informed your listeners, or your viewers that we are seeking to raise 223 billion or so,
right,
as against a total expenditure of 269. That tells you that there's a deficit. How do we raise revenue to cushion now that we are locked out of international markets? And it's a problem because now we can't go into international market to borrow funds to help our expenditure pattern. From the budget that we've read last week and up to today, we are aware that there's a renewed attempt of coming to borrow money domestically from us in the domestic market by floating some other investment other ways of raising enough revenue to help cushion us in terms of expenditure. So the government intends to borrow more money from the domestic, but they also have other implications for other businesses and individuals. If the government is to come into the domestic market to borrow funds, that means that individual players or organizations also will have issues in competing with the same government in borrowing funds. What then we need to do is to block some of our leakages in terms of how the expenditures that we have, the leakages that we have in the system. We should find a better way of blocking some of the leakages. And again, raw materials should be, raw ones need to be harnessed, needs to be processed. There's an attempt of focusing on agro-processing products to help get more revenue to support our budget.
And now zooming in on the oil sector, I mean, there was so much jubilation in 2007 when Ghana discovered oil in commercial quantity. A lot of people, it was going to be the game changer because they looked at countries like Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Russia, and a few other oil economies. That oil revenue has really impacted their growth and development. Now, fast forward, we appears to be marking time, even though we have other revenue stream coming from the oil sector. I read your article where you referenced the fact that we are not exploiting the potential in the oil sector in terms of our revenue generation. What seems to be the challenge that we cannot plug it in the sector?
Yes, just to give you a background to what we have gone through as a country in terms of revenue mobilization. In fact, the past government and this current administration, especially the 2025 budget, is focusing on about 7 areas, key areas in terms of getting revenue. Taxes on income and property, taxes on domestic goods and services, internal trade taxes, that's the import duties, non-tax revenue as well, and then grants, others and the refund. These are 7 key areas in 2025 the government wants to focus on to rake in more revenue from. But truth be told, over the years, we've had a lot of leakages in this drive towards getting more revenue to help our expenditure pattern. And I'm sure, if you recall, somewhere 2019, the government set up a PP, private-public partnership, called the Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, that's SML, in 2019. The effort to combat revenue leakages, tax evasions, underreporting in crucial factors such as the petroleum, the mining, and the port operations. These 3 areas happen to be the target for the administration: the petroleum sector, the mining, the port operation. These were areas that we recognized or we had a lot of leakages. So this company was set up to help block or combat the revenue leakages. The company emerged from the government recognition system, so some of the inefficiencies in revenue collections, particularly the downstream petroleum sector. And if you give it the time to also focus on these 3 areas, how much we have recovered and what we have done as a country with this particular institution, the SML. They have done so well in trying to help government combat revenue leakages. For instance, the petroleum sector, in terms of monitoring, what were the issues that were encountered under the petroleum sector prior to the signing of that agreement with the SML. In fact, prior to SML, we had underreporting of fuel volumes by oil marketing company, the OSMs. That led to significant tax losses over the period. Now, when the SML took over, they were able to install ultrasonic sensors and digital tracking system at depots and retail stations to monitor fuel volumes in real time. And they were able to integrate data with the GRA system to flag discrepancies. What happened to be the impact? And if you care to know, it reduced underreporting by an estimated amount between 30 to 40%. And that recovered about 30 billion, which is approximately 250 million in lost tax revenue between 2020 and 2023. Only the petroleum sector. I can give a similar account in the mining sector, and I can give a similar account in the port and custom modernization area. In fact, GRA recorded somewhere 2021, 2023, that revenue had gone up by 1.2 billion due to a reduced under-invoicing. So clearly it tells you this organization, in terms of combating revenue leakages for this administration. And I'm sure in recent time we've seen a lot of some few comments about the operations. I have no idea in terms of their procurement systems or their contract agreement, but in terms of the numbers that we have, they have done incredibly well over the period.
Prof, let me, because of time, my interest is in the oil sector and the potential that it can help turn the economy around. Perhaps if it's harnessed very well, we may not have to go to the IMF for bailout, but we'll be able to stand on our feet. That there's a downstream and there's an upstream sector. There's a government in place now. I'm sure government may have its own plans, but what would be your suggestion to government so that we can benefit more from our own resources, especially in the oil sector?
Yeah, if I heard it clearly, you are trying to find out what can we do to benefit more.
Exactly, especially from the downstream and the upstream sector.
Yeah, in fact, the records we have in Ghana tells us that all the records we have tell us, in fact, over the period, about 77% of our revenue they come from taxes. That should tell you the focus in terms of our revenue and where we get the funding from. I'm sure if we are not harnessing
we appear to be losing Prof there.
Our products or cutting down, there's a need for us to have an attention to block some of the leakages that we have and combat some of the revenue leakages. And one of the ways to do this is to help some of the PPA, the private sector agreements of some of the institutions that can help. If the government is unable to do this alone, then we need to empower some of these organizations to partner with with the administration to help show up our revenue.
All right. We'll have to leave it here for now. Professor Isaac Boahene is the Dean of the Faculty of Accounting and Finance at the University for Professional Studies. This is the Pulse here on Jones. Let's take a short break and return. Welcome back. Now, traders whose businesses were severely impacted by last Friday's fire in Adum, Kumasi are staging protests against a planned decongestion exercise intended to create a pathway for emergency cases. Now, the traders, fearing they could use their shops, have voiced strong objection to the proposed exercise, which is being implemented as part of efforts to prevent future fire outbreaks and improve emergency response in the area. Friday's fire at the Blue Light Arena raised several shops, leaving many traders without a source of income. As part of the recovery efforts, authorities announced the decongestion initiative aimed at creating a clear route for emergency services in the busy commercial district of Edu. However, some traders say the exercise could push them out of their trading spaces permanently, further exacerbating the already dire situation.
Na se mpanyifo ka se omo besi amamwa enka ebetimi aboa na o masanso ayi kwan atum se de be ya daache bi bibi se esi o betimi aso ano
omo de mayen ya omo nkyere de yenye no omo kyere yen a ye be ya ne saa
e mo mpese mo beja asase na mo
yenye ama wo mo ye ni ye be ya ade no omo nkyere de yenye no enti de pere se omo mu we ni mayen omo bu we ni mayen de a ye ni betimi aye ya ade.
And so that's the trader who says that she doesn't agree with the directive from the regional minister that they have to create a pathway to make sure that any emergency case that comes up will be able to be kept on time. She says that they have to rather break down the building and leave it to them. They would be able to construct it themselves because they fear that if this is left to the hands of the authorities, they would not be able to have their lands anymore. Many themselves also are affected by AJ. They're now torn.
Okay, affected. Yeah, Tom Paboa, yeah, online business. Ahani feed from Ahani BBA. It's a say no bra, a person catcher regional minister. And in penny for more money, they say, baby, I do no more person of the boy piano. A momoy, not Conebra, and so any day, in free us because yeah, I did the Mau. You share Busia, you share Yankasia, your daily life activities were saying. It is almost said, Jihadia, you never be a echo. It is so you're more in Nana say. And your Casa by Abijana protest in Nana say. What there's some more a big beer or near Yankasa, Yankasian for a Sikamesh Adi, Yania by because you never be a co.
Well, the fire has been doused. Remember, there was some back and forth between the Ashanti Regional Minister and some personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service. Well, this morning, the minister met with the Ashanti Regional leadership of the Ghana National Fire Service to address their immediate concerns and to ensure that they have all the tools they need to carry out their duties in a more conducive environment. Now, in parts of Southern Volta, the name once given to tuberculosis sounded like a death sentence. All right, so before I do that, I'm going to talk to you about tuberculosis. It's very important that you stay tuned and listen. But let me take you back to Kumasi now, where Nana Boachi Yadom joins me. So, Nana, so paint us a picture of the situation 48 hours after the fire. Are the traders bent on rebuilding their own stores? But, so now I was asking, almost, 72 hours after the fire, are the traders back on site rebuilding their own stores? Nana, if you can hear me, I was asking whether the traders are rebuilding their own stores. But we don't seem to have his attention. So we'll move on. If we have him, we'll bring him back on this matter. So I was talking to you about tuberculosis. A name that was given to it in the voter region some time back, and it was almost like a death sentence. So people stayed silent, and many stayed sick. But health workers are changing the name, and with it, changing minds. As the world marked World TB Day, Emmanuel Jivenu tells the story of how a new name is breathing new life into the fight against TB.
In parts of Southern Volta, when someone coughs for too long, community members begin to whisper. They don't say tuberculosis, they say yomekbe, which means grave cough, a cough that leads to death. And for many who hear that word, it feels like the end has already come. Wisdom, a young man from Tegbikpota, knows that word too well.
When I got home, the news got there that I have TB, and that's where the problem started from. people were shying away from me. So I had to be kept in the room. They bring me food. When I finish eating, there's nobody there to talk to, unless maybe my mobile phone or something like that. That's the only friend I have. We have a name we call for it in our town here. I think that is even the more reason why people are kind of shying away from me, or they're sort of isolating me. They say, "You're Makba." They feel like when you have this kind of disease, definitely you're going to die. But the hope came from somewhere.
Ekua's case isn't different, but for her, it went beyond isolation. Her family believed she had something to do with her husband's death.
Nti omusi yenko fi na yenko ye wo fi ye gusua still more kosua na kosu na me so we dia ma me stand back ba hospital me be na omo abaye test bi ma me no say omunya omu hu TB nti omu de me beto eduro so.
These stories are not unusual. The fear of TB is real, but often it is the name Yomekbe that causes more damage than the illness itself. That's why health workers in Southern Volta, supported by Hope for Future Generations, are doing something simple but crucial: changing the name. Raymond Kwame Amedeka is the institutional TB coordinator at Ketu South Municipal Hospital.
Because of the name and the meaning, it's creating a lot of stigma. But now we have changed the name from Yomekbe to Pesese, difficult cough that does not go early. And through that, we are able to get a lot of cases in our municipality.
Pesese, a hard cough, is treatable. That small shift in language is helping many people speak up and seek treatment early.
Pesese, when we say pesese, it gives them hope that they can be cured. It's helping.
The impact has been real.
Once people are no longer stigmatizing the condition in the various communities, they are ready to support their clients to take their drugs. That has actually made the rate at which people are dying with the condition reduced drastically. In 2021, the death rate among people living with TB was around 5.5, but we have actually reduced to 2.3%.
Technology is also playing a part. The TB Impact GH mobile app is helping health workers stay connected with patients and giving families answers when they need them.
They engage their beneficiaries through the TB Impact, which is very good. So information is accessible, real-time information, and everything is done for you to get your information readily to ensure that you protect yourself, you prevent yourself from getting other diseases.
Today, Wisdom and Ekuya are living proof that tuberculosis is not the end. With treatment and support, they've recovered and regained their lives. Tuberculosis is not a death sentence. It is a disease, and like many diseases, it can be treated. Emmanuel Jivenu, Joy News, Aflau.
Well, other stories this afternoon, Rochelle Brago Wache Foundation has joined the global community in commemorating World Down Syndrome Day, advocating for greater awareness and inclusion for individuals with Down syndrome in Ghana. The foundation continues to lead efforts in supporting mothers of children with special needs whilst increasing public education on the condition. Jennifer August has more in this report.
The RAP Foundation continues to lead efforts in supporting mothers of children with special needs while increasing public education on Down syndrome. Executive Director Mavis Asantua Opoku stressed that Down syndrome is not a curse, but a genetic condition that requires understanding, compassion, and special care.
Down syndrome, first of all, is a genetic condition. that affects about 1 in 1,000 live birth. So when we say Down syndrome, which means somebody has an extra chromosome of extra copy of the 21st chromosome. And in Ghana here, people see them as cursed, people see them as bad spirits, people see them as they don't deserve to live. But that is not true. They are human beings like me and you. They deserve to even live better, so they deserve all the love that we need. They are not bad spirits. No spirit can give birth to a child. We have a lot of interventions and initiatives running. So this year, looking at the team, improve our support system. Education was one of the basic initiatives that we took. So we are updating all our special education policies.
At the Accra Rehabilitation Center, Senior Housemaster William Ohene called for greater inclusivity and structured support for children with Down syndrome.
Yes, it hasn't been easy teaching them because they have a way of thinking for themselves. They have a way of doing their own thing. The government has a lot to do for persons with disability as a whole, not even Down syndrome alone. If you have not been through that thing before, or you don't have some in your house, you may think it's easy.
Though it is a genetic condition, Down syndrome is still widely misunderstood. Rahel Adom, a mother raising a child with Down syndrome, shared the emotional and social challenges that come with caregiving.
Children up with Down syndrome and even other special needs is not easy. Looking at their diagnosis, their meltdowns, you have to always understand them and be patient with them. So it has not been an easy journey. With the inclusiveness, it helps the child to even learn more. Because I have an experience taking the child to a mainstream school. And anytime she comes up, she picks a lot.
As the world marks World Down Syndrome Day, the call for acceptance, inclusion, and sustained support for individuals with Down syndrome remains more urgent than ever. Jennifer August's report read to you.
And the Danish government is investing 2 billion cedis this year to improve access to safe and quality health in the northern Ghana. The initiative is expected to benefit over 10,000 Ghanaians. Danish ambassador to Ghana, Tom Norin, made the announcement at a stakeholder meeting with Ghana Water Limited and the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research in Accra. Elsia Siedu Kisiedu has more in this report.
Access to clean and safe water remains a major challenge for many communities in northern Ghana, where residents struggle daily with polluted water sources, limited infrastructure, and long distances to fetch water. A renewed sense of hope has emerged as the Danish government announced a significant intervention to help tackle the crisis. Tom Norin is the Danish ambassador to Ghana.
Just this year, initiating a new program together with the government of Ghana, together with Ghana Water again, to secure water to more than 100,000 people in northern Ghana, in Wa and in Bolgatanga. The background for that is a decision taken last year by the Danish government to focus specifically on water solutions in Africa, as part of our Greater Africa strategy was launched last August, 26th of August. At that time, they decided specifically to set aside 1 billion Danish kroner, so that's 2 billion Ghana cedis, for water programs across the African continent. And 1/10 of that is going here to Ghana.
2 billion Ghana cedis have been allocated to improve water access and quality in the region, with support from Danish water treatment company Adu-Boahene, which specializes in sustainable solutions for polluted water bodies.
Here we are very, very fortunate to actually host this activity today here at the Danish Embassy, together with a Danish company called Adu-Boahene. We've worked with them in the past. They have worked with local authorities here in Ghana to build up water treatment facilities that are very efficient, very effective.
Mr. Tom Norin also highlighted contributions from other EU partners towards lasting water solutions.
Sometimes you have to go to the root of the problem, and the root of the problem is galamsey. You need to find a way in which you can, of course, deal with the resources you have in your ground in Ghana, obviously, but in a way that does not pollute, because that creates a huge problem for the Ghanaian citizens in the future.
Water is vital to health, agriculture, and economic development, making this initiative a beacon of hope for thousands in northern Ghana. Elsie Asiedu's report read to you.
And of course, we are still in the Ghana month. It's another talk about a town named after frogs. Limping once. Frog that is limping. What is now known as Kokomlemle was once swampy, quiet, and overlooked. Today, it thrives with schools, churches, and Ghana's biggest media house. But the story of how it all began is as curious as the name itself. And Odame has more in today's Ghana Month series.
It's a town that houses many academic institutions, religious groups, and companies, including the Multimedia Group Limited. Kokomlemle, located in the Ayawaso Central Municipality of the Greater Accra region, was once a waterlogged area. According to the family head of the Nichuru, Paluwomo III, the migration of two Ga communities from Accra and Osu to the current vicinity established Kokomlemle over a century ago.
Our forefathers were living in Accra and part of Osu. So, they got congested. So they decided to, migrate, or in other words, to leave their places of abode to go and explore some new places.
He tells us how the name Kokomlemle came about.
From our great-grandfathers, because this place was waterlogged, when they are coming here, they meet frogs, jumping, limping. And guys, when a frog is sleepy, we say, we also came to meet. A child who is crocodile to maybe frog is limping. So that is how come the name here Kokomlemle.
Another interesting discovery with this town is that former President Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was once a resident in this beautiful place.
When I was young, most of Kwame Nkrumah's members were living in Kokomlemle. Kwame Nkrumah himself lived in Kokomlemle. Kwame Nkrumah was in Kokomlemle, so he left this place to the castle at Kokomlemle. So when we are counting, we count Kwame Nkrumah as one of the members of Kokomlemle.
And that adds to the pride of the residents.
I've stayed in Kokomlemle for over 40 years.
That's a long time.
Yes. I married here, live here with my children and everything.
You went to school here?
I went to school here.
What makes you happy living in Kokomlemle?
I love living in Kokomlemle because Kokomlemle is a place that is nearer to Circle, easy access to Accra, transportation and everything. Sometimes you can even walk to Accra if you like. No crime. Crimeless.
This is what the children in this community know about Kokomlemle.
Please, the town, like the government's house, they are the people who they have the town or the Accra. So if they are doing homework like this, we go around the houses so that we finish and we come inside, come and throw gunpowder and we eat, we play with the sun.
With what?
Palm nuts.
Hey, have you been enjoying it? When was the last time you ate some?
Like last year.
Last year? Will you invite me?
Yes, please.
Okay. So what do you also know about Kokomlemle, anything that has to do with it?
Please, I know about Kokomlemle because my grandfather is a king, and when they are doing a funeral, plenty people come and visit him. That's why I know about Kokomlemle.
Okay. What would you say about the town also?
Kokomlemle. I know that my grandpa said yes, Kokomlemle, but I know they are the one who is controlling this town. That's why I know Kokomlemle.
Just so you know, there's one thing you do not have to do when you get to Kokomlemle.
Be a Kokomlemle. Kokomlemle wa hilomo. Ajake, ka lomo mini ba se, ka lomo ba gbo. O keji o ba lomo, e koko mle, wo mo mbugbe no e koko mle. Ke no ko ba no tu isha bope. O ba gbe fu ko ba ku man che shin e ko ba bola wan ye, e ke wi pepe. What I'm saying is, guys, we don't care in Kokomimli, publicly and internally. When you have a problem, you run to the chief, come and complain to him, and insist with that. Whatever has gone short, you will make it up.
Hannah Odame for Joy News.
All right, so before we go, Unimark GIJ, students are taking political engagement to the next level with a groundbreaking academic simulation. The Ghana Development Party, created as a learning experience, GDP is offering hands-on approach to understanding governance and policy making. Last week, we had another group here to tell us what they intend doing going forward. Now, in the studio this afternoon is Prince Ahinkra, chairman of GDP. Prince, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, and of course, also is Doglo Emmanuel Kujo, the flag bearer of GDP. All right, you're also welcome.
Thank you.
So, I mean, you guys are taking this thing very serious.
Yes.
Really. First, we don't have much time. So what inspired the formation of Ghana Development Party?
Okay, so the Ghana Development Party, we've stayed back and we've looked into the developmental challenges of Ghana. And now we are coming out with solutions so that Ghana will develop. That's why we are coming.
That is the rationale behind
that's
it.
the rationale behind it.
So, flag bearer, tell me about the solutions.
So we have so many solutions for Ghanaians. One of our major problems in Ghana is youth unemployment. Latest statistics from GSS, that is the Ghana Statistics Service, says that from the ages of 15 to 35 years, the unemployment youth, like the unemployment in Ghana, is 21.4%.
Right.
Which is something that is worrying. So for the youth like this, we have so many solutions for them. We're going to have coding for the youth that will train the young Ghanaians in coding, so that they'll have certain skills in coding. We also have initiative that we call free training for vocational and technical students. Yes. So we want to give them free training skills for them to have certain skills, so that after university they can to do something for themselves.
And with the free technical and vocational skills, we are going to do it in such a way that no graduate or no student completes school and become a burden to the government. So this time, we train you, we give you a startup to start your own business. Then you won't be an unemployed graduate or an unemployed student on the government. We are going to cap that word unemployment in this country. We just want to eradicate that word from this country. That is why we are bringing these things on board. So the initiative of training young and the youth in these digital skills and vocational skills, it will allow them to do things on their own. They don't wait or they don't
wait to be employed by the state.
Yeah, they can employ themselves. We just have to cushion them, give them startup so that they can do something for themselves.
Clearly, you guys are really walking into this political space. I can see.
Yeah.
I mean, even the way you dressed clearly shows that you are ready for the job.
Yeah.
But how is it in any way changing the way you approach to things in the country? Let me start with the chairman and come to the flag bearer.
Okay, so before you solve any developmental challenge, you have to identify the challenge first. So we've identified Ghana's developmental challenges. That's why we've named our manifesto 3 A's of development.
Okay.
So the 3 challenges of Ghana, the 3 main challenges of Ghana is availability, accessibility, and affordability, and it applies in all sectors.
Right.
Every sector, there is something that needs to be available for the sector to thrive. Every sector, there is something that needs to be accessible. Every sector, there is something that needs to be affordable.
Right.
So let's take health, for instance. Are health infrastructures available? Are they accessible? And if they are accessible, are they affordable for people to go even there to be taken care of? So that is what we as Ghana Development Party,
you are promising to fix.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Flabber, how is this message being received?
Okay, so as you said, promising. GDP, development is not a promise. Development is here. So we believe that development is right close to us. It's about how we bring it to the people. As you said, the 3 A's of development, how are you able to make the people access these things? how is it available to them, and is it affordable to get them. So if we are able to make these things work, Ghana is going to develop.
Okay, so when is the election itself?
Thursday.
Just Thursday. So the campaign is at its peak, right?
Yes.
And I guess the message is going down well.
Yeah.
And there's no vote buying.
No vote buying. We believe in the confidence of our electors. And we know that
and you are hoping to win.
Yes. You are taking the bragging rights.
Okay. Just 30-second final words, and then we go.
Okay, so we call on every Ghanaian to support the Ghana Development Party. And with Ghana Development Party, we don't have followers. We have partners in development. So if you're a partner in development, it means you have a stake when Ghana develops. So I'm calling on every Ghanaian to vote for Emmanuel Kudu. He is the number 7. We are serving a living God. We are number 7 on the ballot paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Flagbearer, your final words.
So with GDP is a party. We are not a movement, we are not an alliance. We are a party. We believe that development has been taken away from the people for a long time. So with GDP, we say development over diversion. We say action over promises. So we think GDP are bringing development to Ghana. So vote for Emmanuel Kudu, number 7 on the ballot paper.
Emmanuel Nogo, thank you so much for coming through. We wish you the very best. We'll be there on Thursday to see how this entire election will go. And this is happening on the campus of Unimag IG. Of course. Yes, on Thursday. You have to be there to listen to these young individuals professing solutions for this country. That's our show for today, folks. For more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com. Whatever you are up to in the hours ahead, I hope it's profitable. My name is Elton Brobe. Have a good evening and take care.